In my last video I tried to make a game in a week, but ended up finishing it after 3 weeks. I still wanted to make a game in a short time, and I wasn't going to surrender that easily, so I forced myself to make a game in a short time. My plan was to join a game jam that had a close deadline, so I wouldn't have an option but to finish a game in the time given. Watch until the end so you can see if I did it. If you don't know what a game jam is, it's basically an event where game developers gather and make a game alone or in a team, in a limited time following a theme and some rules that vary depending on the game jam. I commented what I was planning to some other Gamedev friends and they decided to join me. The team was ready with 4 participants, 1 programmer, 1 2D artist, and 2 3D artists. We first started participating in one of the oldest and biggest game jams in existence, Put There. But the day before we saw it was invitation only, so we had to find another one. We searched for other game jams that had a similar time limit and ended up in the mini Game Jam 29, which started on a Friday and ended on a Sunday. This game jam had a specific rule. Apart from the theme, a special object that had to be in the game in one form or another would be announced when the jam started. The next day at 7 AM, the theme and special object were announced. The theme was Broken Time and the special object was Microphone. After seeing that, we did a brainstorming session in Discord for a while and came up with 3 ideas. A game where you stream to your in real life microphone and depending on the volume you could access different dimensions to solve puzzles. A game where you interview objects with a special microphone that allows you to go back in time. If you don't understand that idea, don't worry, I didn't understand it either. And the last one, a game where you grab bubbles of colors that represent thoughts to make jokes for a public. If the jokes are good, you make people happy, and if the jokes are bad, time starts distorting and people from different times start appearing among the spectators. We ended up choosing the last one because it was the easiest to make in time given, and it was a good fit for the theme and the special object. I started the Unity project and made the first-person controller that could look within a constrained area. While I was doing that, my 2D artist friend made these cute spectators with different faces, and some icons for the thought bubbles, while the 3D artist started modeling some assets for the map. I put the background for the minigame and the icons that my friend made into the bubbles, and made them start falling from the top. Then I made that you could grab the bubbles and drag them. When I finished doing that, my friends already had the bare bones of the map ready and with some textures. Later, I made that the thought bubbles could be put in the slots, and I placed the player in the map. At the end of day 1, we were progressing pretty quick and we were having a blast working in the game. We were feeling good about the progress we'd made so far, but the time kept ticking and the pressure started rising. The next day, I woke up early and started working on the logic for a time limit for the minigame, and made that when you finish the minigame, you get points depending on the color of the thought bubbles you put in the slots. The green giving more points and the red ones giving less points, because everyone knows that's how color works. Then, the 2D artist gave me some assets that I arranged in the game to make a points bar, and gave it the logic to move an indicator to display how are you doing depending on the points you have. After that, I made that the spectators would change their faces depending on your jokes. If your jokes are bad, you lose points, and the spectators start becoming serious and then angry. If your jokes are good, they turn happy and then super happy. The basic functionality for the game was done, but there was nothing of the broken time theme in the game yet. And as the time decreased, we were increasingly more anxious, because we didn't know if we would be able to submit the game on time. The 3D artist who was helping me inside the game engine found a glitch post-processing effect and made it work in the game, and made some confetti with the particle system. I made that when you tell a bad joke, the glitch effect appears, and the spectators are assigned accessories from different epochs, depending on the thought bubbles you put in the slots, to represent the time distorting. And when you tell a good joke, the confetti pops. While I was doing that, my friend made some animations for the spectators, so the public goes crazy when you tell a good joke. With the day almost coming to an end, we managed to put a win screen for the game when you get to the maximum points, and a lose screen if you get to the minimum points. I couldn't sleep well that night, because I kept thinking and thinking about the time limit, and having the game finished on time. And when I woke up, we just had some hours to complete the game and submit it. Taking the scarce time we had left into consideration, my first task of the day was putting one of the most important things in the game. A glass of water. Then we made some other things like the main menu and the settings menu, so you can adjust the buttons for the music and sound effects, both of which we didn't have in the game yet. So my friends started looking for music and sound effects and I implemented them in the game. Before the time finished, we were able to make the minigame borders bigger, so you couldn't see the thought bubbles that were inside the game, put more spectators to fill the map, and put a mini tutorial at the beginning of the game. Then, with 1 hour left, I made the H page for the game, made the page cover, took some screenshots, put them on the page, and submitted the project to the game jam. The game was very difficult, the tutorial disappeared so fast you couldn't see it, and the game lacked some things that we didn't have time to put in. But we made it in time, and the game is playable. The submission time already finished, and the rating period started. But we decided we would work a little bit more on the game, and update it when the rating period ended. I fixed the difficulty so it would start easy, and get more difficult with each joke. implemented a countdown before you have to make the next joke, and changed and added some other things. You can play the game for free in the link in the description. Subscribe so you don't miss my next videos, and you're welcome to support me on Ko-fi and watch my previous video where I make a game where you fight monsters and cook them.